music can also be used for cultural exchange. Has anybody heard of the Jazz Ambassadors or the Rhythm Road? No? The Jazz Ambassadors were, it was a program during the Cold War. The US government basically invited a bunch of jazz musicians, kind of headed by Louis Armstrong, to go out and tour the world. They did a bunch of tours in a bunch of different countries, and they kind of just performed and like got to know the local people. Do I need to? Okay. And really exchanged, you know, the musical styles, and it was just kind of a way during those political times to kind of show the world that there was another side to America, and it, you know, it was sanctioned by the government, so, you know, you might feel like there was kind of a ulterior motive, or maybe not ulterior. It was obvious that they wanted people to think America was, you know, more happy and fun and friendly than maybe it was politically. But I think that on a more basic human level, programs like this are cool because no matter what the government wants, you are sending musicians out into the world that are meeting and, you know, mingling with other musicians and sharing cultures, which is really cool. And then the Rhythm Road is a program that was started a few years ago by the State Department and Jazz at Lincoln Center. And it's kind of in, it's like an homage to the Jazz Ambassadors, and they send about 10 different musical groups out into the world on like world tours in the same kind of spirit. So that's another example. And then music can also impact race relations. There's a movie called Amandla. I don't know if I pronounced that right. It's a documentary film that was created, and it highlights the role that music played in the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. It's a really cool documentary, so if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. I think it's on Netflix, like instant view. And there's also this program called the Cypress Consortium. I don't know if it still exists, but it was a program established by a couple nonprofit organizations in Cyprus that tried to use music and the arts to mend relations and support peace between the Greeks and the Turks in Cyprus. I guess there was some civil war going on and some public unrest, and they were trying to create like music camps for the high school students to get these two races to find common ground through the arts. So that's cool, right? And then finally, music can be used, especially with the music industry, it's kind of interesting, for philanthropic purposes. Have you guys heard of any of these things? Playing for Change is this really cool organization that has been creating these recordings of music where they take street performers from all over the world and they mix them together singing a song. And they've done a whole album worth of songs and videos, and they raise money. They have a nonprofit attached to the organization, and they raise money for music education programs in developing countries. And then Hope for Haiti and Music for Relief are these albums that were created by a bunch of different artists. They got together, they recorded new music. I think the Music for Relief one was a concert. That one, the Music for Relief is a program started by Linkin Park, of all bands. But they both were created, obviously after the disaster in Haiti, to raise money. It was a very economic thing. They created new albums, but for the sole purpose of raising funds for the people in Haiti. Yeah. So, and these are just a couple examples, but in the past, there's been a lot of situations where musicians who have the power and the resources, they come together during times of tragedy to raise money and support for victims of natural disaster, famine, and whatever else you can think of. That's what Live Aid was. It was a concert, a huge concert, in 1985, when there was a huge famine in Ethiopia, and they put together this simultaneous concert in London, and it was going on in London and in Pennsylvania. So it was basically 2 concerts, but where a bunch of, like, everyone who was big at that time in the industry performed, and they just were raising awareness and getting money for this effort. So, and there's been kind of sequels to this concert when other situations have come up. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff happening out there. And all of this kind of brings me to where I think I'm going to be going next, looking at music as diplomacy, or a form of cultural diplomacy. It's a way for me to combine my personal interests, because I'm a psych major, and that's where, you know, I started way back there with more like neuroscience and music. But I'm really interested in a lot of the social sciences, and especially international relations. And I realized that it's a very small niche, but there is something out there where you can combine music with cultural diplomacy. And I think it's amazing, because there's so much that you can do with it. There's this concept of soft diplomacy. I don't know if any of you IR or comm majors out there have heard of this. Yeah, it's within the public diplomacy umbrella, but it's basically using like culture and the arts and stuff like that to bridge gaps between people of different places and cultures, rather than, you know, like the politics. It's more indirect, but music and cultural diplomacy kind of falls under that. And I just think it's really amazing that music is this universal language that can establish kind of a common ground for different cultures, and then open doors for further understanding and communication. I think there's a lot of potential out there, and there's some cool stuff being done, like I've showed you, but there's so much more I think that we can do. And we all every day experience how much it can affect, you know, your psyche on an individual basis, and you can extrapolate that out to social and global levels, and I just think the possibilities are amazing. So this is kind of where I'm thinking about going next. I would love to study cultural diplomacy in grad school and somehow make a career out of it. But it's been a really cool journey for me, because I didn't really know where I was going, and along the way I was able to learn all these amazing things about the power of music. And I'm just going to leave you with one last example of how cool music is. I don't know if you've seen this before, but we're going to watch it anyway.
No matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're going to need somebody to stand by you. Oh yeah, oh my darling, stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. When the night has come and the land is dark, and that moon is the only light you see. Though I won't be afraid, I won't, she won't get just as long as the people come